Live on another brilliant sunny Sunday, and we are sunbathing and hanging out and hoping to chat with many of you. And if you see this as a video upload later on, welcome, welcome. Thank you for watching. We're going to be hanging out with kitty cats. We're going to be reading from our book that we've been reading, Sad Cypress. We're on part 2 of it, and it's been a lot of fun. And we went live yesterday and made quite a bit of progress. And this is Suji. So let me share the live so that our friends know we have gone live. In the meantime, if you're joining, welcome, welcome, and please say hi in the chat or just stay on and enjoy our hangout and chilling with the kitty cats, chilling like a villain, and the sunny Sunday and our book reading. So it is time for a nice, relaxing Sunday sit down with kitty cats and a book, and I am excited to welcome you in for this. So I do see my live on my channel, on my laptop. Hi, I see Flower. Yash, how are you? How are you doing? How is school? Sorry if we're a bit late. I know you probably have school tomorrow. Do you have school tomorrow, or is there some kind of holiday? Hi. Hi, Kristen. Hi, Kristen. Oh my gosh, hi from North Korea. Oh, hi. Hello. Hi, ZI187SJDN. Hi. Hello. How are you doing? So nice of you to join. So very nice of you to join. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I shared the live. If any of you wants to share the live with a friend, and then you can dominate the chat with that friend, feel free. More the merrier. And look at this Babla. She is having her afternoon catnap and sunbathing time. We are getting ready to have a nice chat today and to read from the book we've been reading. It's a murder mystery, and let me share the book. Although we'll chat for a few minutes here, but here it is, Sad Cypress by Agatha Christie. We made a lot of progress yesterday, and we are on part 2 of the book now, where Peter Lord, the doctor of the older lady who just passed away, the aunt, her doctor is meeting with Hercule Poirot to get his help with the case. Flower/Yash is saying, yay, I do have school and it's my first term papers. Tomorrow is my Urdu paper. Oh my gosh. Good luck, Yash. You're gonna rock it. I'm sure you're gonna do really, really well on your Urdu test tomorrow. So if you need to practice some Urdu on us, then you should feel free in the chat today. Tina says, can I ask you how you introduce new cats in your household? Yes, of course. That's a great question. So that's a great, great question. So in the beginning, on the first few days when Suji and Baji were adopted. So Suji and Baji were adopted together. And that is actually highly recommended. They were just kittens, so just baby cats. And whenever, if you can handle, getting a pair of baby cats or a pair of cats or a pair of kittens, that's generally what they recommend. Which is really nice because, I was introducing them to Fuji, who I who was already in the home. And so these two at least had each other. So it's like there's a good number now, because in this household, at any given time, everyone has a cat if they need one. Suji can have Baji, Baji can have Suji, Baji can have Fuji, I can have Fuji, Fuji can have me. You know, everyone, no one is like lacking love, just because there's always, touch wood. Let me touch wood. Knock on wood, they have each other. So so Baji and Suji, because they were adopted together and they did have to be kept separate for a few days in the beginning, when they were adopted, I kept them in a different room for a couple of days so that Fuji could get familiar with their smells from beneath the door. So just through the door crack, he can still smell the new kitty cats, and even just getting familiar to the smells. So yeah, you just want to introduce them slowly. Tina says, I have two currently, but new cat adopted me recently, picking him up from vet tomorrow. Dorman. Hi, Dorman. Yo, a kitty. Hi. Yes. Hi, Uchiha. Yes. So I got you. So you have two currently. So, each cat has their own personality. So they might be really cool with the new cat, or just one of them might be at first, or they both might have two different speeds of accepting the new cat. But in the beginning, you might just want to give them their own room, the new kitty cat, that is, and sort of I wouldn't want to say to keep them separate for too long. So Suji and Baji probably spent a couple days total. Yash says, could you follow me on TikTok? Actually, Yash, I do have a new TikTok for Baji the Handsome Cat. The handle is baji.the.handsome.cat. So if you follow me, can you follow that account? Actually, I just started it, and it's like obviously very small. I think I might have like one follower. I don't even know. So this is the main account. This YouTube channel is the main content platform for this content. But if you wouldn't mind going on TikTok, if you can follow Baji the Handsome Cat there, that would be great. And yes, definitely I will follow you back. So separate for too long might be. Yes. So Tina, I have known friends who basically they moved in together, like with a partner or something, and they each had a cat, or one of them had a couple cats, the other person had a cat. And when you keep them separated for too long, that kind of becomes the kingdom, It becomes a divide of the territory, because cats are basically territorial, So what I did, honestly, was you have to decide who is the top cat. And generally, the cats have already decided who is the top cat. And what I would do, in short, this is probably a whole video that I could make on this, but what I would do, in short, is to prioritize the top cat. Keep the top cat happy, and then that kitty cat will warm up to the new cats, or in this case, there's two cats already, one of them is gonna be the top cat probably. Keep prioritizing whoever is the top cat, and generally they will take care of the ones that are newer. So in our case, Suji and Baji knew very well that they were new in the house, and that it was Fuji's house, and it was that they need to kind of follow that hierarchy. So you'd be surprised, they actually know the hierarchy very, very well. So whoever establishes themselves as the top cat will set the tone, and then everyone else kind of just follows that order. So it did help also that Baji over here. So people, think a lot of things, but then the reality is something quite different. So I actually thought that Fuji, being a boy kitty, would warm up to the girl. Oh gosh, I almost fell. I actually thought that I should get Fuji a girl kitty, And I was trying to get him just a girl kitty, but Baji adopted me and he wanted to come home with me. So he is actually the extra cat. Close your ears, Baji, because we love you. He is actually the kind of an extra who decided to get into the bag with Suji when we were adopting. And he came along as an extra kitty cat. And lo and behold, what you might not, what I didn't expect is that he's the one actually who got along with Fuji first, even though they're boys. So it really depends on the personality of the cat, like who is gonna first accept who, because thank you for your opinions and advice and your time. Of course, Tina. I mean, thank you for adopting and taking care of the new cat and bringing them to the vet. That's exactly, obviously, what we recommend. They need to go to the vet right away if you just found them or if they just found you, and especially kittens. I don't know. All cats, they need a vet visit. They might need some vaccines, etc. So things like that. But Baji is extremely charming. So he kind of let Fuji dominate and basically made him fall in love with him much quicker. And it was actually Fuji and Suji who didn't get along in the beginning. But I mean, all it was Fuji was probably a little bit upset and would hiss now and then. But because I made him become familiar with them quickly enough, like within a couple days, the smells, you can keep them separate for a day or two, but still let them sniff through the door's crack. Like if there's a gap under the door, they can still sniff, or you can kind of use some rugs or something, exchange the smells basically. If they eat the wet food together, it's another tip I got, is that eventually they will meet and there might be some hissing. You just have to keep calm. So don't give in to the pressures of the kitty cats not getting along. Just stay very calm and give the new cat love. Basically, if you give your cat love, it teaches the other cats to also love them. You know what I mean? So if they're being stupid grid, your cat is so gay. Okay, all right. Sorry, I didn't even read that comment. That's okay. That's okay. I mean, being gay is not a bad thing. Were you trying to offend us? Because we're not offended. Being gay is okay. And, maybe we're gay. Who knows? So, anyways, it really depends on the personality. Baji has a very docile, friendly, loving, charming personality. So he basically had much less trouble. He likes when someone kind of loves on him, gives him attention. He really doesn't care if you could be mad at him, but are you giving him attention? That's what he wants, That's what he wants. Not that we're mad at him, So even if Fuji was a little bit upset, Baji was like, well, here I am. Here I am. Here's my eyes. Here's my loving eyes. And here, And he loves love. Like, he'll make you love him. So even if, anyone's upset with him, any of the cats are upset, he still basically wants them to love him. So that's how it went. So it might be like one by one. Maybe two of the cats will get along first. Then another cat will also eventually accept the new cat. It can just take a little time. And it can be some weeks of like the occasional hissing and a little bit of a fight here and there. But nothing was too bad. And also, I always prioritize Fuji. Like, that's the secret, actually. I know this channel says Baji the handsome cat, but actually all of us are owned by Fuji. So, Baji looks so cute. I know. Patience is the one thing I do have. Oh, very nice, Tina. You're going to be great. You sound like a great cat mom. it's gonna be awesome. Don't worry about a thing. Honestly, if you keep calm, they will follow your example. They will also keep calm or become calmer. And that's what I found. If I ever got kind of like upset by the fighting, it only made it worse, you know? If I keep calm and just firmly tell whoever is being bad, like, don't do it, and then I'll pick up the kitty cat who was, being antagonized, and I'll love on them, I'll give them kisses and hugs and cuddles, then the other cat knows, oh, shoot, like, now mom is loving on the one I was antagonizing, and I want that love. So eventually, they learn that they should not be bad to each other. But eventually you'll see that they'll all play fight. So play fighting is fine, but if I find that one of them is being kind of bad, then I will firmly tell them to stop and pick up the other one and love on them, so they know, they have me, and the other cat learns that they should probably, because they don't like being, I know cats are, people think that they're very aloof, and they actually, but they like attention. They like love and attention as much as anyone. And they don't. Hi, Baji, we're holding hands. See, Baji likes to hold hands. He is having an introverted moment, in the sense that there's a lot of sun, and Baji has these light eyes, so he can't take too much of the sun. He's kind of like white people in the cat world, whereas Suji loves the sun. Like, she's like a Bengal, Not, I mean, they're all mixes, but like, look at her. She's like a little tiger. I can't, it's not focusing. Suji, I was gonna say, is like a little tiger. Like, look at her. She's like my little Royal Bengal tiger. She'll just lay in the sun for hours. It doesn't bother her, and she loves it. Look at this. But Baji, he has to take breaks from the sun and go into the shade. So he's kind of like the equivalent of some people who burn a lot and they can't handle too much sun at once. So I have all kinds of things going on here. I got scratched by a cat today, and I still have, oh no, Yash. Well, you should take care of the, yeah, sometimes I get little, not really scars. They don't mean to scratch, like, they don't realize that our skin is different. I train my cats. They can sit, shake, high five, and stand up and touch my finger. Oh my gosh. Oh, that's a lot. That's awesome. That's awesome. But yeah, this one is a feisty little girl. And you have to realize every cat, like, for example, Suji, this kitty cat is in her own league. Like, basically, there would be a problem if the kitty cats were kind of competing. But in this case, I had such a diva in Suji. She just knows that she's in her own league. So even though we're all owned by Fuji, and he's the most important, Suji is not really insecure. She knows she belongs in her own league. Nobody can really compete with her. So they're all secure. It's a secure family, secure multi-kitty family. So they all are given what they need, or they all give themselves what they need. So that's why I think it worked out. It worked out. And now it's so funny. Suji and Baji had each other. So the nice thing is that when they're kittens and they're new and they've just been adopted, if they have a buddy, that helps a lot, right? Because I was busy making sure Fuji's okay, everyone's staying calm, and everything's good. And they had each other. So that helped a lot. But now I think sometimes Suji's actually more close with Fuji, because she kind of, leveled up. And touch wood, and these dynamics are also evolving. So it's like the dynamic in the beginning is not going to be the dynamic later on. It constantly all evolves. So I think it's going to be great. You're in for a nice adventure. I've just noticed that dog introductions can be easier than disrupting a cat colony. Oh, yeah. I mean, kitty cats are territorial and solitary animals. Like they need solitary time. Even though we are a multi-kitty family, they do each need their own time and space. But you know what? They're so clever. They kind of figure it out. Like Baji is in his cave right now. Fuji has his spot. She has her spot. Like they just kind of know, they're very intelligent. So I feel like they are able to learn how to live harmoniously without, interrupting or interfering with each other. And they have each other to fight and play and give each other company. So they enjoy both. They enjoy the company of others, and they also like to be on their own and have their own time and space, is what I've noticed. Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Hi, new guy. Hello, happy to be here. New guy, how are you? I just learned that cats have a 360 view and they can see you if you're on the side. Oh, I didn't know that. Here's a little belly. Here's a little belly. Here's a little belly getting sun. Yes, Suji. The belly needs sun too. The belly needs sun too. Oh, baby. Such a Shona. But yeah, hopefully that helped. I shared a little bit of tidbits from the adoption process and introducing new cat to the household. Hopefully that was helpful. I can organize my thoughts more and do a video on it later on. It's a really good topic. It's a really good question and topic. I think it's going to be great. You'll kind of figure it out as you go, But I would just say don't keep them separate for too long, because what I noticed with that one household where they basically divided up the apartment and kept the one cat on one side and the other two on the other side, that led to a lot of, I don't know, that just led to, it seemed like they never really learned to get along, like even after months, there was still a problem. You know what I mean? And they were so surprised by my kitty cats that they all get along and they all eat together. And I'm like, yeah, what do you mean? Like within a few days they were eating together, because I mean there's no option. Like I was giving them all the, thank you so much, really. I know I disrupt. Oh no, you're fine. We always chat for a while in the beginning, so this is a good topic to talk about in the beginning of the live stream. We always hang out and catch up and chat in the beginning. Hey, did you go live yesterday? I did. Yes, I did go live yesterday, Yash. If you go to my live tab on the channel, you'll see that we went live and you can catch up with what happened yesterday and the book reading from yesterday. We were reading Agatha Christie's Sad Cypress. So we did make progress on that yesterday. But yeah, so this friend of mine who moved in with her boyfriend, and they had to mix the kitty cats together. I don't know if they ever got along, and they were so surprised to see that these two, these two as in these three, the two new ones, and the Fuji and everyone, like Fuji, Suji, Baji, there's three here, they all get along, and they were so shocked. And they were, at one point I was having them eat from the wet food for a while there. They all ate their wet food mixed with a little water, because that's how I make them drink more water, from a same big plate. Like they would just get 3 blobs of food on the same plate, and they would just eat out of that same big plate. And they were shocked that these cats do that. You got a sub for me. Oh, thank you. It's like, she was so shocked to see that they get along so well. And I'm like, well, they never, I mean, I feel like they always behaved really well eating together. Like they don't really fight about the food much. Baji can get a little bit territorial during eating, but even then, because he's so harmless, everyone knows that even if he gets mad, it's fine. So, so it's like they're honestly the nicest kitty cats. I'm lucky. Touch wood. Thank you, God. Thank you, universe. these kitty cats are honestly the nicest, most precious babies ever because they don't really ever fight or become that jealous if someone's getting attention or food or anything. They share very, very well. Like they share their food and resources and toys like extremely well, actually. So even the people, like the, generally speaking, people say that cats are territorial and solitary. That's like, it's not the whole story. That's not really the whole story, is what I'm trying to say. I forgot to put it on Notify Me. Oh, Yash. Yeah, put it on Notify. Sorry, yeah, actually, I tried to go live a little earlier yesterday just so that, someone like you and some others who have to go to bed can join a bit earlier. So, yeah, I got... I tried to go earlier. Love those torties. Yes. Hi, Aloha Kitty. Hi. Um, yeah. Sorry we missed you yesterday, Yash. But yeah, they're all extremely sweet. The thing is, the kitty cats love love. All this stuff about cats, not caring is like all wrong. If you ever talk, I mean, I know you know this already, Tina, but all cat lovers know they actually love getting love. So if you give them love, it's gonna be just fine. Like they all like love and they like food and they're happy, they get along and they have each other. That's actually very important. So I have to tell you a funny thing. Yes, tell me. What funny thing happened? You've got a little thing on your eye, Suji. I'm getting her. Cute boy. Please pet him. This one's a girl, actually. This one is Suji, a girly girl. She's the only girl. Maybe that's good too, that there's a girl and two boys. I don't know. I really think the girl-boy thing is not as important, though, as the personality thing. Because two boy cats can get along better if one of them is Baji. And if one of them is docile and very just so charming that anybody would want to love on them. Fuji honestly has adopted them both. The secret is that actually I'm the grandma. It's like I have a son and he has two children. I'm actually the grandma of these two. You know what I mean? Because I love and prioritize Fuji, he has adopted these two new cats. I have to tell you a funny thing. Yes, tell me. Tell me, Yash. Tell me the story. Tell me the story. I got talking about adoption and introducing a new cat to the household, and it reminded me of all the stories from the beginning of the Baji adoption. So thank you for letting me share about that, and thank you for asking, and good luck with your own kitty adoption. So adorable. I want to pet her too. Yes, they are. They are so adorable. They are honestly the most adorable, loving little babies. They're so babas. They're babies, So babies need love, babies need food, babies need sleep, baby need good home. That's pretty much it. Right? Babies need to use the bathroom. Shona. And they love the sun. I mean, she does. Baji also loves the sun, but he has to take breaks because so me and my mom have this all these like theories about them. And she thinks that Baji's eyelids are so light because, you know, he is silver. It's like not white, not light, but kind of light. So his eyelids are transparent to the sun. And that's why he can't take it too much. Do you remember when I told you about my aunt's cat? Yes, what's up? Yes, yes, yes. I do. Oops. I keep finding little. They have all these stripes on them. Tiger stripes. Do you remember when I told you about my aunt's cat? I think I saw that message already. Tell us, tell us, tell us, tell us. So actually, I know that Yash was looking for my TikTok handle earlier. So I'm gonna type that in and then take a few sips of my coffee and then we'll get started with the book, okay? Do you remember the TikTok handle is Baji the handsome cat? Just so I said the TikTok handle is Baji the handsome cat. I just started it. You can follow if you like. We will be here mainly on YouTube though. Although I will also post on TikTok as well, so that we have a presence on over on TikTok and whatnot. I'm also on Instagram. My Instagram right now is more to do with just overall life and travel, but I do post the kitty cats on there sometimes as well. Well, she sometimes thinks she's Batman and climbs a wall and sits there and just looks out for anything and just keeps sitting there like Batman. She sometimes climbs a wall. Oh my gosh. Well, they are very good climbers. So that is cool. Yash said I will follow you. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Um yes, thank you so much. Please do follow if you want over on TikTok. But also if you don't want, that's fine too because we'll be here. And I'm just happy to have you here as well. We are, so I'm gonna also share the live again and say we are live and about to start reading part 2 of Sad Cypress by Agatha Christie. We're live and about to start reading part 2 of the Sad Cypress, part 2 of the book Sad Cypress by Agatha Christie. See you. Okay. All right. We'll take one more peek at Baji and then get started with the book. As in, continue the book. Where are you? The book. Here it is. Here it is. Here's the book. I'm wearing a nice dress today as well because I will be getting dinner. Let me show you my dress. I'm wearing a nice dress. Look. Well, it's like an okay dress. Um, because I will be getting dinner with my friend later on. She is coming to my neighborhood and we will go get food. And I actually thought that we would go to a bakery, but I think the bakery will close early, so we might have to go get momo. Do you guys know what momo is? It's from Nepal. Could you follow me? Just best my user. Yes, if you follow me, I will follow you back on TikTok. Otherwise, yeah, otherwise it's difficult because I might have to, look up this message and all that stuff. So follow me, and that's how I'll know which one is you, Yash, because I have so few followers on. I think I have one follower on TikTok right now, so that's okay. It's okay. Yes. Let's take a peek at Baji. Baji! Yeah, see, Baji is in his cave today. He got sun yesterday and he needs to take a little rest from the sun because, his eyelids are a little bit not able to handle too much sun. Hi, Baji! Whenever he gets any attention, he's just so happy. And he's so snuggly and so cuddly. Hi. Hi. Okay, Baji. Okay, Baji. Okay, Baji, we're gonna go read, okay? You keep resting. You keep resting, Baba. You keep resting. Shona, Baji. Shona. Oh, he stuffed his face in his paws. Yes, he has. Stuffed his face in his paws. Baba to, Shona to. Bijon, Shona. Bijon, Shona. So Shona means golden. Golden boy is how Bengali moms call their sons. Shona chele, Shona me. This one's a Shona chele. Shona baby, Shona baby, Shona baby. It's a key. Oh, this is also a stripe. I thought, Baji, that you had something on your hand, but it's just your stripe. It's just your stripe. Oh, look at his two paws. Look at his two paws. This one and this one. This one and this one. Little paws. Two little paws. Stop and Smile says, he's so cozy. He is. He's very cozy. He's a very cozy boy. Itna pyara ladka hai Baji. Yes! He's a very pyara ladka. He's a very pyara ladka. He's very pyara. He's so loving. He loves love. He loves love. He loves love. Hi, Baji. তুমি ডিস্টার্ব হচ্ছ না তো? তুমি ডিস্টার্ব হচ্ছ না তো? So this is what I mean. They are very, very loving. So as long as they get love, they're happy. Pojo, 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 pojo. Oh. Look at your head. It's so round. You're so round. You're so round. You're so round. Look at your ear. You have kitty named Baji. I have a Baji named Kitty. Oh, really? Oh my god. Oh my god. Baji. Baji, this one's Baji. This one is Baji. This one is Baji. Oh. 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 Baby, baby, baby. Baby, baby, baby. Okay, Baji, I won't disturb you anymore. I'm gonna go read, okay? I'm gonna go read. I'm gonna go read. I'm gonna go read. We won't disturb you anymore, Baji. We won't. I know you're enjoying your cozy time in the cave. I have to go, but I'll see you next weekend. Bye-bye. Allah Hafiz. Baji, Fuji, Suji, and Andri. Bye-bye. Yes. Allah Hafiz. Bye-bye. See you next time. See you next time. See you next time. Definitely would love to see you at our live every time. And we haven't even started reading today. We will right now. But I am just distracted by all the cuteness and coziness of Baji. Hopefully you're enjoying. Hopefully you're enjoying this pose. Baji has a lot of poses. This is a yogi as well, you know. He's a yogi. He's a yogi. Shona to. Bijon shona. Bijon shona to. Bhalo chele to. Bijon bhalo. Okay. All right. I'll let you look at him for 1 second while I have my coffee. Oh, look at it. His paws came out of the cave. Stretch, stretch. Baji did a big stretch and his 2 legs came out of the cave. Look at how big he is. Touch wood, touch wood, touch wood. Thank you, God. Look at how big. Oh my God. Oh my God. It's okay, Baji. It's okay. It's okay. Oh, he's a cool cat. Yes. Oh. Oh. Yes. Baji, are you a dinosaur? You look like a little dinosaur. A little dinosaur. Shona to Shona. Shona to Shona. Shona to Shona. Okay, Baji. Okay, Baji. Okay, Baji. Okay, Baji. All right. Okay. Gosh, so much cuteness. So much cuteness, I can't handle it myself. I just can't. Hi, Key, are you on? Hello, my friends. Okay. Oh, Suji. Too much. Okay. Mommy's ready. Mommy's ready for the book. So we saw that Mary Gerard was killed. She was poisoned. And Eleanor Carlyle is the main suspect.
Let me read real quick from the back of the book so you can catch up with what is happening. But if you were, new guy, yes. If you were there last time or the last couple times, last weekend too, we covered this book. But let me just remind you, beautiful young Eleanor Carlyle stood serenely in the dock, accused of the murder of Mary Gerard, her rival in love. The evidence was damning. Only Eleanor had the motive, the opportunity, and the means to administer the fatal poison. Yet, inside the hostile courtroom, only one man still presumed Eleanor was innocent until proven guilty. Hercule Poirot was all that stood between Eleanor and the gallows. So, this is where we were. We saw that Mary Gerard had been poisoned and killed, and Eleanor was being accused of the murder, and pretty much the evidence against her was stacked. It was really damning. But Peter Lord, the doctor of her aunt, is trying to save her, really, and he is pleading with Hercule Poirot to take up the case and to prove her innocent, whether she's actually innocent or not. Like Peter Lord, Dr. Lord is, kind of desperate almost to get her, off this, the gallows, basically, to get her to not go to prison and be hanged or something. So anyway, so he is still speaking with Hercule Poirot. This is part 2 of Sad Cypress, Agatha Christie. And part 1 kind of had the perspective of Eleanor and all these things that were happening. And part 2 is where we see Hercule Poirot. Peter Lord, so this is chapter 2 of part 2. We read chapter 1 yesterday already. So I'll continue from chapter 2, part 2 of Sad Cypress, Agatha Christie right now. Peter Lord stared at him, took out a handkerchief, wiped his face, and threw himself down in a chair. "Woof," he said. "You got me all worked up." "I didn't see in the least what you were getting at," Poirot said. "I was examining the case against Eleanor Carlyle. Now I know it. Morphine was administered to Mary Gerard, and as far as I can see, it must have been given in the sandwiches. Nobody touched those sandwiches except Eleanor Carlyle. Eleanor Carlyle had a motive for killing Mary Gerard, and she is, in your opinion, capable of killing Mary Gerard, and in all probability, she did kill Mary Gerard. I see no reason for believing otherwise. That, mon ami, is one side of the question. Now we will proceed to stage 2. We will dismiss all those considerations from our mind and we will approach the matter from the opposite angle. If Eleanor Carlyle did not kill Mary Gerard, who did? Or did Mary Gerard commit suicide?" Peter Lord sat up. A frown creased his forehead. He said, "You weren't quite accurate just now." "I? Not accurate?" Poirot sounded affronted. Peter Lord pursued relentlessly. "No, you said nobody but Eleanor Carlyle touched those sandwiches. You don't know that. There was no one else in the house. As far as we know, but you're excluding a short period of time. There was a time during which Eleanor Carlyle left the house to go down to the lodge. During that period of time, the sandwiches were on a plate in the pantry, and somebody could have tampered with them." Poirot drew a deep breath. He said, "You are right, my friend. I admit it. There was a time during which somebody could have had access to the plate of sandwiches. We must try to form some idea who that somebody could be. That is to say, what kind of person." He paused. "Let us consider this Mary Gerard. Someone, not Eleanor Carlyle, desires her death. Why? Did anyone stand to gain by her death? Had she money to leave?" Peter Lord shook his head. "Not now. In another month, she would have had £2,000. Eleanor Carlyle was making that sum over to her because she believed her aunt would have wished it. But the old lady's estate isn't wound up yet." Poirot said. "Then we can wash out the money angle." Mary Gerard was beautiful, you say. With that, there's always complications. She had admirers? Question mark. Probably. I don't know much about it. Who would know? Peter Lord grinned. I'd better put you on to Nurse Hopkins. She's the town crier. She knows everything that goes on in Maiden's Ford. I was going to ask you to give me your impressions of the two nurses. Well, O'Brien's Irish, good nurse, competent, a bit silly, could be spiteful, a bit of a liar. The imaginative kind that's not so much deceitful, but just has to make a good story out of everything. Poirot nodded. Hopkins is a sensible, shrewd, middle-aged woman, quite kindly and competent, but a sight too much interest in other people's businesses. If there had been trouble over some young man in the village, would Nurse Hopkins know about it? You bet. He added slowly, all the same, I don't believe there can be anything very obvious in that line. Mary hadn't been home long. She'd been away in Germany for 2 years. She was 21? Yes. There may be some German complication. Peter Lord's face brightened. He said eagerly, You mean that some German fellow may have had it in for her? He may have followed her over here, waited his time, and finally achieved his object? It sounds a little melodramatic, said Hercule Poirot doubtfully. But it's possible? Not very probable, though. Peter Lord said, I don't agree. Someone might get all het up about the girl and see red when she turned him down. He may have fancied she treated him badly. It's an idea. It is an idea, yes, said Hercule Poirot, but his tone was not encouraging. Peter Lord said pleadingly, Go on, Mosey Poirot. You want me, I see, to be the conjurer, to take out of the empty hat a rabbit after rabbit. You can put it that way if you like. There is another possibility, said Hercule Poirot. Go on. Someone abstracted a tube of morphine from Nurse Hopkins's case that evening in June. Suppose Mary Gerard saw the person who did it. She would have said so. No, mon cher, be reasonable. If Eleanor Carlyle or Roderick Wellman or Nurse O'Brien or even any of the servants were to open that case and abstract a little glass tube, what would anyone think? Simply that the person in question had been sent by the nurse to fetch something from it? The matter would pass straight out of Mary Gerard's mind again, but it is possible that later she might recollect the fact and might mention it casually to the person in question, without the least suspicion in the world. But to the person guilty of the murder of Mrs. Wellman, imagine the effect of that remark. Mary must be silenced at all costs. I can assure you, my friend, that anyone who has once committed a murder finds it only too easy to commit another. Peter Lord said with a frown, I've believed all along that Mrs. Wellman took the stuff herself. But she was paralyzed, helpless. She had just another stroke. Oh, I know. My idea was that having got hold of morphine somehow or other, she kept it by her in a receptacle close at hand. But in that case, she must have got hold of the morphine before her second attack, and the nurse missed it afterwards. Hopkins may only have missed the morphine that morning. It might have been taken a couple of days before, and she hadn't noticed it. How would the old lady have got hold of it? I don't know. Bribed a servant, perhaps. If so, that servant's never going to tell. You don't think either of the nurses were bribable? Lord shook his head. Not on your life. To begin with, they're both very strict about professional ethics. And in addition, they'd be scared to death to do such a thing. They'd know the danger to themselves. Poirot said, That is so. He added thoughtfully, It looks, does it not, as though we returned to our muttons. Who is the most likely person to have taken that morphine tube? Eleanor Carlyle. We may say that she wished to make sure of inheriting a large fortune. We may be more generous and say that she was actuated by pity. that she took the morphine and administered it in compliance with her aunt's often repeated request. But she took it, and Mary Gerard saw her do it. And so we are back at the sandwiches and the empty house, and we have Eleanor Carlyle once more, but this time with a different motive to save her neck. Peter Lord cried out, "That's fantastic. I tell you, she isn't that kind of person. Money doesn't really mean anything to her, or to Roderick Wellman either, I'm bound to admit. I've heard them both say as much." You have? That is very interesting. That is the kind of statement I always look upon with a good deal of suspicion myself. Peter Lord said, "Damn you, Poirot. Must you always twist everything around so that it comes back to that girl? It is not that I twist things around, they come round of themselves. It is like the pointer at the fair. It swings round, and when it comes to rest, it points always at the same name, Eleanor Carlyle." Peter Lord said, "No." Hercule Poirot shook his head sadly. Then he said, "Has she relations, this Eleanor Carlyle? Sisters, cousins, a father or mother?" No, she's an orphan. Alone in the world." How pathetic it sounds. Bulmer, I'm sure, will make a great play with that. Who then inherits her money if she dies? I don't know. I haven't thought. Poirot said reprovingly, "One should always think of these things. Has she made a will, for instance?" Peter Lord flushed. He said uncertainly, I don't know." Hercule Poirot looked at the ceiling and joined his fingertips. He remarked, "It would be well, you know, to tell me." "Tell you what?" "Exactly what is in your mind, no matter how damaging it may happen to be to Eleanor Carlyle." "How do you know?" Yes, I know. There is something, some incident in your mind. It will be as well to tell me, otherwise I shall imagine it something worse than it is." "It's nothing really. We will agree it is nothing, but let me hear what it is." Slowly, unwillingly, Peter Lord allowed the story to be dragged from him. That scene of Eleanor leaning in at the window of Nurse Hopkins's cottage, and of her laughter. Poirot said thoughtfully, "She said that, did she? So you're making your will, Mary? That's funny. That's very funny. And it was very clear to you what was in her mind? She had been thinking perhaps that Mary Gerard was not going to live long?" Peter Lord said, "I only imagined that. I don't know." Poirot said, "No, you did not only imagine it." All right, so that was chapter 2 of part 2 of this story, Sad Cypress by Agatha Christie. I'm going to start chapter 3 in just a second here. Hi, FBI. FBI says, "Wow, even I'm sleepy listening to stories just like your cat. Nice voice, by the way. Thank you. So soothing and pleasant voice you got. Thank you." Yeah, so this channel is about kitty cats, hanging out with kitty cats, catching up with you and my voice. People seem to like it, and the cats fall asleep nicely, and it seems to settle them down, my voice. And then I realized that it has the same effect on some people. So that's why we do this voiceover with the kitty cats, and I'm doing the reading from the book. Are you Indian or Pakistani? I am from India originally. I grew up in India. FBI says, "Just asking, your accent sounds like one." Okay. Kozum says, "Ayap." Hi. Hi, Chosum. Hi, FBI. Thank you for joining, and welcome to the live. We are hanging out with kittens and listening to book. All right. I'm also... So you got a new mod? Did I? I don't know. Do I have a new mod? I don't think anybody is the mod today, but it's been nice. No real issues today. Flower, is that an old one? Yash is one of our. I don't think Yash was moderating today, but she does come to a lot of these lives. Thank you to her and everyone who's joining. I don't have a mod right now. She's a regular VIP guest of the live. Anyone can be a mod, I think. Some people have been kind to offer it. Cheers. Oh, thank you, FBI. Yeah, maybe in a bit. It might not be necessary for this live. I think sometimes when I go live at a later time, that's when there can be some issues. And I need a mod. Here, it's kind of chill, you know, everyone's nice. And we're just hanging out, relaxing, taking a sunbathing. I know, yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. But yeah, I just meant that right now it's chill. So, anyway, chapter 3. Chapter 3 of Sad Cypress. Hercule Poirot sat in Nurse Hopkins's cottage. Dr. Lord had brought him there, had introduced him, and had then, at a glance from Poirot, left him to a tete-a-tete. Having to begin with eyed his foreign appearance somewhat askance, Nurse Hopkins was now thawing rapidly. She said with a faintly gloomy relish, "Yes, it's a terrible thing, one of the most terrible things I've ever known." Sorry, I lost my train of thought here. Okay, yeah, have fun in the live chat. I'm just gonna keep reading from chapter 3 of part 2, Sad Cypress, Agatha Christie. Hercule Poirot sat in Nurse Hopkins's cottage. Dr. Lord had brought him there, had introduced him, and had then, at a glance from Poirot, left him to a tete-a-tete. Having to begin with eyed his foreign appearance somewhat askance, Nurse Hopkins was now thawing rapidly. She said with a faintly gloomy relish, "Yes, it's a terrible thing. One of the most terrible things I've ever known. Mary was one of the most beautiful girls you've ever seen. Might have gone on the films any time, and a nice steady girl too, and not stuck up, as she might have been with all the notice taken of her." Poirot, inserting a question adroitly, said, "You mean the notice taken of her by Mrs. Wellman?" "That's what I mean. The old lady had taken a tremendous fancy to her. Really a tremendous fancy." Hercule Poirot murmured, "Surprising, perhaps?" "That depends. It might be quite natural, really, I mean." Nurse Hopkins bit her lip and looked confused. "What I mean is Mary had a very pretty way with her, a nice, soft voice and pleasant manners, and it's my opinion it does an elderly person good to have a young face about." Hercule Poirot said, "Miss Carlyle came down occasionally, I suppose, to see her aunt?" Nurse Hopkins said sharply. Miss Carlyle came down when it suited her. Poirot murmured, You do not like Miss Carlyle. Nurse Hopkins cried out, I should hope not indeed. A poisoner, a cold-blooded poisoner. Ah, said Hercule Poirot, I see you've made up your mind. Nurse Hopkins said suspiciously, What do you mean, made up my mind? You were quite sure that it was she who administered morphine to Mary Gerard? Who else could have done it? I should like to know. You're not suggesting that I did. Not for a moment, but her guilt has not yet been proved, remember. Look at her smidge. Aw. Nurse Hopkins said with calm assurance, She did it all right. Apart from anything else, you could see it in her face. Queer she was all the time, and taking me away upstairs and keeping me there, delaying as long as possible. And then when I turned on her after finding Mary like that, it was there in her face as plain as anything. She knew I knew. Hercule Poirot said thoughtfully, It is certainly difficult to see who else could have done it. Unless, of course, she did it herself. What do you mean, did it herself? Do you mean that Mary committed suicide? I never heard such nonsense. Hercule Poirot said, One can never tell. The heart of a young girl, it is very sensitive, very tender. He paused. It would have been possible, I suppose. She could have slipped something into her tea without her noticing her? Without your noticing her? Slipped it into her cup, you mean? Yes, you weren't watching her all the time. I wasn't watching her, no. Yes, I suppose she could have done that. But it's all nonsense. What would she want to do a thing like that for? Hercule Poirot shook his head with a resumption of his former manner. A young girl's heart, as I say, so sensitive, an unhappy love affair, perhaps? Nurse Hopkins gave a snort. Girls don't kill themselves for love affairs, not unless they're in the family way, and Mary wasn't that. Let me tell you. She glared at him belligerently. And she was not in love? Not she. Quite fancy-free, keen on her job and enjoying her life. But she must have had admirers since she was an attractive girl. Nurse Hopkins said she wasn't one of these girls who are all SA and IT. She was, oh my God, and she was a quiet girl. But there were young men, no doubt, in the village who admired her. There was Ted Bigland, of course, said Nurse Hopkins. Poirot extracted various details as to Ted Bigland. Very gone on Mary, he was, said Nurse Hopkins. But as I told her, she was a cut above him. Poirot said he must have been angry when she would not have anything to do with him. He was sore about it, yes, admitted Nurse Hopkins, blamed me for it too. He thought it was your fault? That's what he said. I'd a perfect right to advise the girl. After all, I know something of the world. I didn't want the girl to throw herself away. Poirot said gently, What made you take so much interest in the girl? Well, I don't know. Nurse Hopkins hesitated. She looked shy and a little ashamed of herself. There was something, well, romantic about Mary. Poirot murmured. About her, perhaps, but not about her circumstances. She was the lodgekeeper's daughter, wasn't she? Nurse Hopkins said yes, yes. Of course. At least. She hesitated, looked at Poirot, who was gazing at her in the most sympathetic manner. As a matter of fact, said Nurse Hopkins, in a burst of confidence, she wasn't old Gerard's daughter at all. He told me so. Her father was a gentleman. Poirot murmured, I see. And her mother? Nurse Hopkins hesitated, bit her lip, and then went on. Her mother had been a lady's maid to old Mrs. Wellman. She married Gerard after Mary was born. As you say, quite a romance, a mystery romance. Nurse Hopkins's face lit up. Wasn't it? One can't help taking an interest in people when one knows something that nobody else does about them. Just by chance, I happened to find out a good deal. As a matter of fact, it was Nurse O'Brien who set me on the track. But that's another story. But as you say, it's interesting knowing past history. There's many a tragedy that goes unguessed at. It's a sad world. Poirot sighed and shook his head. Nurse Hopkins said with a sudden alarm, "But I ought not to have gone talking like this. I wouldn't have a word of this get out for anything. After all, it's nothing to do with the case. As far as the world is concerned, Mary was Gerard's daughter, and there mustn't be a hint of anything else damaging her in the eyes of the world after she's dead. He married her mother, and that's enough." Poirot murmured, "But you know perhaps who her real father was?" Nurse Hopkins said reluctantly, "Well, perhaps I do. But then again, perhaps I don't. That is, I don't know anything. I could take a guess. Old sins have long shadows, as they say, but I'm not one to talk, and I shan't say another word." Poirot tactfully retired from the fray and attacked another subject. "There is something else, a delicate matter, but I'm sure I can rely on your discretion." Nurse Hopkins bridled. A broad smile appeared on her homely face. "I speak of Mr. Roderick Wellman. He was, so I hear, attracted by Mary Gerard," Nurse Hopkins said. "Bowled over by her. Although at the time he was engaged to Miss Carlyle? If you ask me," said Nurse Hopkins, he was never really sweet on Miss Carlyle. Not what I'd call sweet on her." Poirot asked, using an old-fashioned term, Did Mary Gerard encourage his advances?" Nurse Hopkins said sharply, "She behaved very well. Nobody could say she led him on." Poirot said, "Was she in love with him?" Nurse Hopkins said sharply, "No, she wasn't. But she liked him?" "Oh, yes, she liked him well enough, and I suppose in time something might have come of it." Nurse Hopkins admitted that may be. But Mary wouldn't have done anything in a hurry. She told him down here he had no business to speak like that to her when he was engaged to Miss Eleanor, and when he came to see her in London, she said the same. Okay. Poirot asked with an air of engaging candor, "What do you think yourself of Mr. Roderick Wellman?" Nurse Hopkins said, "He's a nice enough young fellow, nervy though, looks as though he might be dyspeptic later on. Those nervy ones often are." "Was he very fond of his aunt?" "I believe so. Did he sit with her much when she was so ill?" "You mean when she had that second stroke? The night before when she died? When they came down?" "I don't believe he even went into the room." "Really?" Nurse Hopkins said quickly. "She didn't ask for him, and of course we had no idea that the end was so near. There are a lot of men like that, fight shy of a sick room. They can't help it, and it's not heartlessness, they just don't want to be upset in their feelings." Poirot nodded comprehendingly. He said, "Are you sure Mr. Wellman did not go into his aunt's room before she died?" "Well, not while I was on duty. Nurse O'Brien relieved me at 3 a.m., and she... One second. Nurse O'Brien relieved me at 3 a.m., and she may have fetched him before the end, but if so, she didn't mention it to me." Poirot suggested, "He may have gone into her room when you were absent." Nurse Hopkins snapped, "I don't leave my patients unattended, Mr. Poirot." "1,000 apologies. I did not mean that. I thought perhaps you might have had to boil water or to run downstairs for some necessary stimulant." Mollified, Nurse Hopkins said, I did go down to change the bottles and get them refilled. I knew there'd be a kettle on the boil down in the kitchen. You were away long? 5 minutes, perhaps? Ah, yes. Then Mr. Wellman may have just looked in on her then. He must have been very quick about it if he did. Poirot sighed. He said, As you say, men fight shy of illness. It is the women who are the ministering angels. What should we do without them? Especially women of your profession, a truly noble calling. Nurse Hopkins, slightly red in the face, said, It's very kind of you to say that. I've never thought of it that way myself. Too much hard work in nursing to think about the noble side of it. Poirot said, And there's nothing else you can tell me about Mary Gerard? There was an appreciable pause before Nurse Hopkins answered. I don't know of anything. Are you quite sure? Nurse Hopkins said rather incoherently, You don't understand. I was fond of Mary. And there is nothing more you can tell me? No, there is not, and that's flat. All right, that was chapter 3 of this part 2 of Sad Cypress by Agatha Christie. Let me see your comments. Wilson Michael, I was looking for you yesterday, but I couldn't find you. I did go live yesterday. It's on my channel if you want to catch up with what we did, the book reading and chat and all that. It should be under the live tab on my channel. It should have gotten posted by now. Actually, let me check. Let me check if it did get posted. This is Sad Cypress by Agatha Christie with the kitty cats. So far, so good. Yay! Hi, new guy. Yes, we're gonna start chapter 4 in just a second. Did my live... No, this is written by Agatha Christie. I do write books myself as well, but generally they are non-fiction. Let me see. Did I not? So my live yesterday, we went live around the same time yesterday, and if you missed it, make sure you are subscribed and you have the notifications on so that you'll know when we're going live. Wilson Michael and everybody, thank you for joining. Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for joining. Dorman asks, how many cats do you have? It's a surprise, Dorman. You'll have to tell me how many you see today or during one of our live streams. Which part of India are you from? I'm from Kolkata, eastern side of India. Nice to see your cats again too. Thank you. Thank you for joining. FBI says, do you know Cats for Nelson? Asks XXE Vilkitty. I do believe I have seen that. Having a great weekend? Yes. Okay, if you think so. Hi, Marco Pierre. Dang, I'm late. How did you tag my name? Do you know that you can make arm warmers out of socks? Very nice. Thank you for chatting in the live chat and getting to know each other. Always appreciate when people are making new friends here and being nice. Let's see. I'm the FBI. Okay. Hello, how are you? So nice to be with you here again. So nice to hear your beautiful voice again. Thank you. Yes, I'm doing the voiceover by reading from this book right now. We did a long chat earlier actually about adopting kitty cats and that whole process. Thank you for joining, Wilson Michael. I just wanted to catch up with the comments. FBI says Kolkata, you wrote it. I didn't write this book. This is by Agatha Christie. Scientific books. Yes, I have a few nonfiction books actually on Amazon. Look at that Pookie. FBI says you eat Rashogolla. Yes, of course, when I can find some. If somebody offers me Roshogulla, I'm not going to say no, but I haven't gone out and gotten any in a while. That's true as well. But most certainly, I can eat Roshogulla if it is offered. Wilson says, thank you, thank you. Give me links of your books. Okay, will do. Yeah. Let's see. Let's see if this live from yesterday is on my channel. I do believe it is. Yes. Okay, great. It did post and it did get uploaded. So, when I go live and people join during the live, that's great. But you can always find my live videos as they're uploaded within some hours later on to the channel under the live tab. If you go into my channel under the live tab, you'll find this whole, video that's getting recorded live. It'll still show up later on as an upload. So we did go live yesterday and it should be on there. It is on there. I can see it. Sometimes it's still uploading and sometimes it's still uploading. So if you click on it, maybe it won't play right away, but it takes a few hours sometimes, but then you'll be able to see it. It gets on there. Okay, so I checked. Yesterday's live is on there. I missed your live stream yesterday. Yes. Too bad you missed it. Give me links of your books. Maybe later. Which topic? Physics? Yes, I like Stephen Hawking's books. Cool. I missed her. Really wanted to catch up with you yesterday. Oh, well, we can catch up today. FBI and Wilson, you guys keep catching up with each other and chatting in the live chat. I'll start reading chapter 4 of this part 2 of this book, Sad Cypress by Agatha Christie now. I'll go back to it. Okay. Are your books available on dark web? No, FBI. Indeed, they're not. All right. Chapter 4. In the awesome majestic of Mrs. Bishop's black-clad presence, Hercule Poirot sat humbly insignificant. The thawing of Mrs. Bishop was no easy matter. For Mrs. Bishop, a lady of conservative habits and views, strongly disapproving of foreigners, and a foreigner most indubitably Hercule Poirot was. Her responses were frosty, and she eyed him with disfavor and suspicion. Dr. Lord's introduction of him had done little to soften the situation. I am sure, said Mrs. Bishop when Dr. Lord had gone, Dr. Lord is a very clever doctor and means well. Dr. Ransom, his predecessor, had been here many years. Dr. Ransom, that is to say, could be trusted to behave in a manner suitable to the county. Dr. Lord, a mere irresponsible youngster, an upstart who had taken Dr. Ransom's place, had only one recommendation: cleverness in his profession. Cleverness, the whole demeanor of Mrs. Bishop seemed to say, is not enough. Thank you, Hunter. Hercule Poirot was persuasive. He was adroit, but charm he never so wisely. Mrs. Bishop remained aloof and implacable. The death of Mrs. Wellman had been very sad. She had been much respected in the neighborhood. The arrest of Miss Carlyle was disgraceful and believed to be the result of these new-fangled police methods. The views of Mrs. Bishop upon the death of Mary Gerard were vague in the extreme. I couldn't say, I'm sure, being the most she could be brought to say. Hercule Poirot played his last card. He recounted with naive pride a recent visit of his to Sandringham. He spoke with admiration of the graciousness and delightful simplicity and kindness of royalty. So Poirot has to resort to like royalty chat to get Mrs. Bishop talking, which is very difficult. Mrs. Bishop, who followed daily in the court circular the exact movements of royalty, was overborne. After all, if they had sent for Mr. Poirot, well, naturally, they made all the difference, foreigner or no foreigner. Who was she, Emma Bishop, to hold back where royalty had led the way? Presently, she and Monsieur Poirot were engaged in pleasant conversation on a really interesting theme, no less than the selection of a suitable future husband for Princess Elizabeth. Having finally exhausted all possible candidates as not good enough, the talk reverted to less exalted circles. Poirot observed sententiously, "Marriage, alas, is fraught with dangers and pitfalls." Mrs. Bishop said, "Yes, indeed, with this nasty divorce," rather as though she was speaking of a contagious disease such as chicken pox. "I expect," said Poirot, "that Mrs. Wellman, before her death, must have been anxious to see her niece suitably settled in life." Mrs. Bishop bowed her head. Yes, indeed. The engagement between Miss Eleanor and Mr. Roderick was a great relief to her. It was a thing she had always hoped for. Poirot ventured, "The engagement was perhaps entered into partly from a wish to please her?" "Oh, no, I wouldn't say that, Monsieur Poirot. Miss Eleanor has always been devoted to Mr. Roddy, always was as a tiny tot. Quite beautiful to see. Miss Eleanor has a very loyal and devoted nature." Poirot murmured, "And he?" Mrs. Bishop said austerely, "Mr. Roderick was devoted to Miss Eleanor." Poirot said, "Yet the engagement, I think, was broken off?" The color rose in Mrs. Bishop's face. She said, owing Mr. Poirot to the machinations of a snake in the grass. Poirot said, appearing suitably impressed, "Indeed?" Mrs. Bishop, her face becoming redder still, explained, "In this country, Mr. Poirot, there is a certain decency to be observed when mentioning the dead. But that young woman, Mr. Poirot, was underhand in her dealings." Look at this sentence, it's so funny. She's like putting capitals on the Hunter says, "Cute cat. This cat's name is Suji." But look at the sentence. "In this country, Mr. Poirot, there's a certain decency to be observed when mentioning the dead. But that young woman, Mr. Poirot, was underhand in her dealings." Poirot looked at her thoughtfully for a moment. Then he said with an apparent lack of guile, "You surprise me. I had been given the impression that she was a very simple and unassuming girl." Mrs. Bishop's chin trembled a little. "She was artful, Mr. Poirot. People were taken in by her. That nurse Hopkins, for instance. Yes, and my poor dear mistress too." Poirot shook his head sympathetically and made a clacking noise with his tongue. "Yes, indeed," said Mrs. Bishop, stimulated by these encouraging noises. "She was failing, poor dear, and that young woman wormed her way into her confidence. She knew which side of her bread was buttered. Always hovering about, reading to her, bringing her little nosegays of flowers. It was Mary this and Mary that and where's Mary all the time. The money she spent on the girl, too, expensive schools and finishing places abroad, and the girl nothing but old Gerard's daughter. He didn't like it, I can tell you. Used to complain of her fine lady ways, above herself. That's what she was. Above herself. That's what she was." This time, Mrs. Bishop is very judgy. This time, Poirot shook his head and said commiseratingly, "Dear, dear." And then making up to Mr. Roddy the way she did, He was too simple to see through her. And Miss Eleanor, a nice minded young lady as she is, of course she wouldn't realize she wouldn't realize what was going on, but men, they're all alike, easily caught by flattery and a pretty face. Poirot sighed. She had, I suppose, admirers of her own class? He asked. Of course she had. There was Rufus Bickland's son Ted, as nice a boy as you could find, but oh no, my fine lady was too good for him. I had no patience with such airs and graces. Poirot said, was he not angry about her treatment of him? Yes, indeed, he accused her of carrying on with Mr. Roddy. I know that for a fact. I don't blame the boy for feeling sore. Nor I, said Poirot. You interest me extremely, Mrs. Bishop. Some people have the knack of presenting a character clearly and vigorously in a few words. It's a great gift. I have at last a clear picture of Mary Gerard. Mind you, said Mrs. Bishop, I'm not saying a word against the girl. I wouldn't do such a thing, and she in her grave, but there's no doubt that she caused a lot of trouble. Poirot murmured, where would it have ended, I wondered. That's what I say, said Mrs. Bishop. You can take it from me, Mr. Poirot, that if my dear mistress hadn't died when she did, awful as the shock was at the time, I see now that it was a mercy in disguise. I don't know what might have been the end of it. Poirot said invitingly, you mean? Mrs. Bishop said solemnly, I've come across it time and again. My own sister was in service where it happened. Once when old Colonel Randolph died and left every penny away from his poor wife to a hussy living at Eastbourne, and once told Mrs. Draces, and once old Mrs. Dacres left it to the organist of the church, one of those long-haired young men, and she with married sons and daughters. Poirot said, you mean, I take it, what that Mrs. Wellman might have left all her money to Mary Gerard? It wouldn't have surprised me, said Mrs. Bishop. That's what the young woman was working up to, I have no doubt, and if I ventured to say a word, Mrs. Wellman was ready to bite my head off, though I had been with her nearly 20 years. It's an ungrateful world, Mr. Poirot. You try to do your duty, and it is not appreciated. Alas, sighed Poirot, how true that is. But wickedness doesn't always flourish, said Mrs. Bishop. Poirot said, true. Mary Gerard is dead. Mrs. Bishop said comfortably, she's gone to her reckoning, and we mustn't judge her. Poirot mused. The circumstances of her death seemed quite inexplicable. These police and their newfangled ideas, said Mrs. Bishop. Is it likely that a well-bred, nicely brought-up young lady like Miss Eleanor would go about poisoning anyone? Trying to drag me into it, too, saying I said her manner was peculiar. But was it not peculiar? And why shouldn't it be? Mrs. Bishop's bust heaved with a flash of jet. Miss Eleanor's a young lady of feelings. She was going to turn out her aunt's things. And that's always a painful business. Poirot nodded sympathetically. He said, it would have made it much easier for her if you had accompanied her. I wanted to, Mr. Poirot, but she took me up quite sharp. Oh, well. Miss Eleanor was always a very proud and reserved young lady. I wish, though, I had gone with her. Poirot murmured, you did not think of following her up to the house? Mrs. Bishop reared her head majestically. I don't go where I'm not wanted, Mr. Poirot. Poirot looked abashed. He murmured, besides, you had doubtless matters of importance to attend to that morning. It was a very warm day, I remember, very sultry. She sighed. I walked to the cemetery to place a few flowers on Mrs. Wellman's grave, a token of respect, and I had to rest there quite a long time. Quite overcome by the heat I was. I got home late for lunch, and my sister was quite upset when she saw the state of heat I was in. Said I never should have done it on a day like that. Poirot looked at her with admiration. He said, I envy you, Mrs. Bishop. It is pleasant indeed to have nothing with which to reproach oneself after a death. Mr. Roderick Wellman, I fancy, must blame himself for not going in to see his aunt that night, though naturally he could not know she was going to pass away so soon. Oh, but you're quite wrong, Mr. Poirot. I can tell you that, for a fact, Mr. Roddy did go into his aunt's room. I was just outside on the landing myself. I've heard that nurse go off downstairs, and I thought maybe I'd better make sure the mistress wasn't needing anything, for you know what nurses are, always staying downstairs to gossip with the maids, or else worrying them to death by asking them for things. Not that Nurse Hopkins was as bad as that red-haired Irish nurse. Always chattering and making trouble, she was. But as I say, I thought I'd just see everything was all right, and it was then that I saw Mr. Roddy slip into his aunt's room. I don't know whether she knew him or not. But anyway, he hasn't got anything to reproach himself with. Poirot said, I'm glad. He's of a somewhat nervous disposition. Just a trifle cranky. He always has been. Poirot said, Mrs. Bishop, you are evidently a woman of great understanding. I have formed a high regard for your judgment. What do you think is the truth about the death of Mary Gerard? Mrs. Bishop snorted. Clear enough, I should think. One of those nasty pots of paste of Abbott's. Keeps them on those shelves for months. My second cousin was took ill and nearly died once with tinned crab. Poirot objected. But what about the morphine found in the body? Mrs. Bishop said grandly, I don't know anything about morphine. I know what doctors are. Tell them to look for something and they'll find it. Tainted fish paste isn't good enough for them. Poirot said, You do not think it is possible that she committed suicide? She? Mrs. Bishop snorted. No, indeed. Hadn't she made up her mind to marry Mr. Roddy? Catch her committing suicide. Okay, that was chapter 4 of part 2 of Sad Cypress. We'll take a little break. Hi, No Wonky. Katu. Yes. No Wonky number 1, D1 with long name is in the chat. Love it. Okay, so Poirot just had a chat with Mrs. Bishop, the head housekeeper of that house, and she gave him lots of opinions and some new information confirming that Roddy had been in the room the night before his aunt died. And we still don't know, obviously, who killed Mary Gerard and, you know, the whole poisoning thing. You know, even I was thinking that the fish paste thing, like it's more likely for someone to think that something they ate was bad, but they also did find the morphine. And Mrs. Bishop is like, well, I don't know anything about morphine. Doctors will find something when they are asked to look for it. So she's basically saying that the fish paste was bad. Like she wasn't murdered. It's just bad fish paste. So yeah. We'll start chapter 5 in just a second. Let me take some sips of coffee. Let me show you Baji. You might like to see this very snuggly kitty cat. Hi, Baji. Aww. I see someone asking, FBI asked about my books. I will be sure to share them at some point. If you go to my website, howtophd.org, you might be able to find more information about that side of things. So I'm a content creator, uh, and this channel is all about the kitty cats, and that's the main focus here. And I do the voiceover reading of murder mysteries, but then I do make other content as well. So if you check out my blog, that will have more information about those other topics. Howtophd.org has some more things about the books that I have written. They're nonfiction and not as interesting as a murder mystery, though. But if you're into it, sure, why not? Um. Oh, Baji, I startled you, and that startled me. Sorry, Baji. Oh, did you hear his little meow, not meow, his little voice? I'm sorry, Baji. I'm sorry for disturbing you, but you're so very cute. So very cute. So very cute. So very cute. Aww. So very cute bacha. So very cute bacha. Nifty! Hi. Hi, Nifty. Baji says hi. Baji says hi. We're taking a little bit of a break before I start reading from chapter 5 of the book, part 2 of this book. Just a little bit of a voice break. Is Wilson Michael still in the chat? I missed your live stream. Wanted to catch up. Well, we can catch up. Hopefully everything is good. FBI said it happens, bro. Good. I'm glad you are getting to know each other. Hunter. Thank you, Hunter. I like the cat that's in your profile picture. Cute cat. That was Suji earlier, and this is Baji. Nifty, how are you doing? How are you doing? Wilson, I'm still here. Good. How are you? How are you doing? Enjoying your reading. Cool. Nifty says I'm good but tired. Weak. Been resting a lot from the time I got back to Kolkata. Been resting a lot. No activities this weekend. Rest is good. Leroy here with a new picture, laying on the puzzle in the sun. Leroy! This is Suji. This one is Suji. We just showed Baji though. Kolkata is where my aunt lives. Such a nice place. Oh wow.
That's my original hometown. Such a nice place. Baji. This one is Shuji. This is Mac. You have Mac or HP. We just FBI, you're so specific. We just snuggled Baji. We just snuggled Baji. Thank you guys for being here. Really appreciate your support. Please like the live, like, share, subscribe, put the notification on so you can be notified when we do go live. That would be amazing if you join.
Sorry, I'm just checking that things are functioning as expected. As expected. I saw your black keyboard with silver body. It could be Mac or HP. Very observant, FBI. Just like the FBI. Just a short break. Then one more trip coming up. Very nice, Wilson. Good, good.
So FBI, where are you from?
I'm getting dinner later today with my friend. Looking forward to that. Okay, I think I'm gonna become more horizontal now and read while laying down on the couch. So let me. All right, chapter. Most of your subscribers must be Indian. Actually no, but thank you for joining. From India. Every 1 out of 4 children is born is Indian. That's true. Most of us are Indians in the world, I suppose. From India, most of your subscribers must be Indian. FBI, are you in India right now? Or are you from India but somewhere else? Good to know. Either way, every 1 out of 4 children. FBI, I like it. I like that you are sharing facts in the chat. That's nice. Keep on sharing, and I will keep on reading and read your comments in a little bit here, okay? Ooh, you're from India, living in Qatar. Aha, very nice. Very nice indeed. Yeah, I end up flying through there quite a bit. When I go, it's not very often that I go. With my bro. So you and your brother from India and living in Qatar for work? For school, work? Work, I'm guessing. Well, thank you for joining from Qatar. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. Qatar, India, UAE, US, Canada, Japan, Finland, Iceland, Greenland, Korea. Welcome. The kitty eye closed in the kitty sleep dimension. Yes, indeed. All right, let's keep reading chapter 5, starting now, of this part 2 of this book, Sad Cypress. Since it was a Sunday, Hercule Poirot found Ted Bigland at his father's firm. There was little difficulty in getting Ted Bigland to talk. He seemed to welcome the opportunity, as though it was a relief. He said thoughtfully, "So you're trying to find out who killed Mary?" "It's a black mystery, that," Poirot said. "You do not believe that Miss Carlyle killed her, then?" Ted Bigland frowned. A puzzled, almost childlike frown it was. He said slowly, "Miss Eleanor is a lady. She's the kind... Well, you couldn't imagine her doing anything like that. Anything violent. If you know what I mean. After all, it isn't likely, is it, sir, that a nice young lady would go and do a thing of that kind?" Hercule Poirot nodded in a contemplative manner. He said, "No, it's not likely, but when it comes to jealousy..." He paused, watching the good-looking fair young giant before him. Ted Bigland said, "Jealousy? I know things happen that way, but it's usually drink and getting worked up that makes a fellow see red and run amok. Miss Eleanor, a nice, quiet young lady like that..." Poirot said, "But Mary Gerard died, and she did not die a natural death. Have you any idea? Is there anything you can tell me to help me find out who killed Mary Gerard?" Slowly, the other shook his head. He said, "It doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem possible, if you take my if you take my meaning, that anyone could have killed Mary. She was..." Excuse me. "It doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem possible, if you take my meaning, that anyone could have killed Mary. She was... she was like a flower." And suddenly, for a vivid minute, Hercule Poirot had a new conception of the dead girl. In that halting, rustic voice, the girl, Mary, lived and bloomed again. She was like a flower. There was suddenly a poignant sense of loss, of something exquisite destroyed. In his mind, phrase after phrase succeeded each other. Peter Lords, she was a nice kid. Nurse Hopkins, she could have gone on the films any time. Mrs. Bishop's venomous, no patience with her airs and graces. And now last, putting to shame, laying aside those other views, the quiet wondering. She was like a flower, Hercule Poirot said. But then, he spread out his hands in a wide, appealing foreign gesture. Ted Bigland nodded his head. His eyes had still the dumb, glazed look of an animal in pain. He said, "I know, sir, I know what you say is true. She didn't die natural, but I've been wondering." He paused. Poirot said, "Yes?" Ted Bigland said slowly, "I've been wondering if in some way it couldn't have been an accident?" "An accident? But what kind of an accident?" "I know, sir, I know. It doesn't sound like sense. But I keep thinking and thinking, and it seems to me it must have been that way. Something that wasn't meant to happen, or something that was all a mistake. Well, just an accident." He looked pleadingly at Poirot, embarrassed by his own lack of eloquence. Poirot was silent a moment or two. He seemed to be considering. He said at last, "It is interesting that you feel that way." Ted Bigland said deprecatingly, "I dare say it doesn't make sense to you, sir. I can't figure out any how and why about it. It's just a feeling I've got." Hercule Poirot said, "Feeling is sometimes an important guide. You will pardon me, I hope, if I seem to tread on painful ground, but you cared very much for Mary Gerard, did you not?" A little dark color came up in the tanned face. Ted said simply, "Everyone knows that around here, I reckon." "You wanted to marry her?" "Yes, but she was not willing." Ted's face darkened a little. He said with a hint of suppressed anger, "Mean well, people do, but they shouldn't muck up people's lives by interfering. All this schooling and going abroad, it changed Mary. I don't mean spoiled her or that she was stuck up. She wasn't. But it bewildered her. She didn't know where she was anymore. She was, well, put it crudely, she was too good for me. But she still wasn't good enough for a real gentleman like Mr. Wellman." Hercule Poirot said, watching him, "You don't like Mr. Wellman?" Ted Bigland said with a simple violence, "Why the hell, why the hell should I? Mr. Wellman's all right. I've nothing against him. He's not what I call much of a man. I could pick him up and break him in two. He's got brains, I suppose, but that's not much help to you if your car breaks down, for instance. You may know the principle that makes a car run, but it doesn't stop you from being as helpless as a baby when all that's needed is to take the mag out and give it a wipe." Poirot said, "Of course. You work in a garage?" Ted Bigland nodded. "Henderson's down the road. You were there on the morning when this thing happened?" Ted Bigland said, "Yes, testing out a car for a gentleman at choke somewhere and I couldn't locate it. Ran it around for a bit. Seems odd to think of now. It was a lovely day, some honeysuckle still in the hedges. Mary used to like honeysuckle. We used to go picking it together before she went away abroad." Again, there was that puzzled, childlike wonder on his face. Hercule Poirot was silent. With a start, Ted Bigland came out of his trance. He said, "Sorry, sir, forget what I said about Mr. Wellman. I was sore because of his hanging around after Mary. He ought to have left her alone. She wasn't his sort, really." Poirot said, "Do you think she cared for him?" Again, Ted Bigland frowned. Not really, but she might have done. I couldn't say." Poirot asked, "Was there any other man in Mary's life? Anyone, for instance, she had met abroad?" "I couldn't say, sir. She never mentioned anybody." "Any enemies?" "Any enemies here in Maidensford?" "You mean anyone who had it in for her?" He shook his head. "Nobody knew her very well, but they all liked her." Poirot said, "Did Mrs. Bishop, the housekeeper at Hunterbury, like her?" Ted gave a sudden grin. He said, "Oh, that was just spite. The old dame didn't like Mrs. Wellman taking such a fancy to Mary." Poirot asked, "Was Mary Gerard happy when she was down here? Was she fond of old Mrs. Wellman?" "She'd have been happy enough, I dare say, if Nurse had let her alone. Nurse Hopkins, I mean, putting ideas into her head of earning a living and going off to do massage. She was fond of Mary, though. Oh, yes, she was fond enough of her. But she's the kind who always knows what's best for everyone." Poirot said slowly, "Supposing that Nurse Hopkins knows something, let us say, that would throw a discreditable light on Mary. Do you think she would keep it to herself?" Ted Bigland looked at him curiously. "I don't quite get your meaning, sir." "Do you think that if Nurse Hopkins knew something against Mary Gerard, she would hold her tongue about it?" Ted Bigland said, "I doubt if that woman could hold her tongue about anything. She's the greatest gossip in the village, but if she'd hold her tongue about anybody, it would probably be about Mary." He added, his curiosity getting the better of him, "I'd like to know why you ask that." Hercule Poirot said, "One has, in talking to people, a certain impression. Nurse Hopkins was, to all seeming, perfectly frank and outspoken, but I formed the impression very strongly that she was keeping something back. It is not necessarily an important thing. It may have no bearing on the crime, but there is something that she knows which she has not told. I also formed the impression that this something, whatever it is something definitely damaging or detrimental to the character of Mary Gerard. Ted shook his head helplessly. Hercule Poirot sighed. Ah, well, I shall learn what it is in time. I mean, he always does. That was chapter 5 of this part 2. We're gonna do chapter 6 in just a sec. Hi, Leroy. Actually, let me charge my phone and then read your chat messages. Let me charge the phone and then read your chat messages. My brother's posting. Here, I just came with him to see this place. Nifty! Nice profile pic. You coughing sometimes. Well, coughing is good. It means you're alive. Hey, kitty. The kitty is so chill. Yes, she likes to sleep with my voice. My friend is also bad energy. Very nice. Alright, I'm gonna let this charge for a second. Give me 1 second while I charge. I'm gonna go into the sofa and still type and be here. It's one of their bones. Hey Google, what time is it?
4:29 p.m.
Hey Google, what day is it today?
Today is Sunday, October 6th.
October! It's my birthday month. It's my birthday month. When is everyone's B-day? Type your birthday month. Type your birthday month. September. Wow. July. Nice. October. Same pinch. September. Virgo or Leo? July. Hi, Max. Max Pazusko. Cancer. I'm a Cancer rising. Libra. Me. Which day of September? I'm a Libra. Sun, Moon, Venus, Mercury. 14th September. That might be Leo. Or no, it's Virgo. It's Virgo. I think that's Virgo. 14th September. Virgo. Hey Google, what is the sun sign of 14th September?
On the website entertainment.howstuffworks.com, they say, Virgos born on September 14th embody the spirit of Virgo perfectionism and criticism. These complex and demanding people can be difficult to live with, but no one can doubt their sincerity.
Thank you, Google. Sorry. I don't know why Google said all that. Wilson Michael, which month is your birthday? And Heike? When is your birthday, Heike? Which month? Hey Google, what do you know about Cancer Sun?
On the website cancer.gov, they say, cancer is a disease caused when cells divide
Sorry.
uncontrollably and spread into
Google.
surrounding tissues.
Hey Google,
Cancer is
please stop. Google. Happy New Week to Baji and Cats. Happy birthday. December. Thank you for reading. I'm still reading it, Heike. I use DuckDuckGo from now on. Wilson said I was born in the month of May. Oh, nice. Heike said, thank you for reading Sad Cypress. Happy New Week to Baji and Cats. Happy birthday. December. Oh, Heike. Yay. I'm not what Google told you. Thank you, gonna read one more chapter today before we are done. I can't. It's too funny. Heike, which day of December is your birthday? December is a good month. I keep meeting people who is a Sagittarius. Heike, are you a Sagittarius? Hey Google, what do you know about Libra?
On the website allure.com, they say, Libra is an air sign represented by the scales, an association that reflects Libra's fixation on balance and harmony. Libra is obsessed with symmetry and strives to create equilibrium in all areas of life. I'm so sorry. All right, one more chapter. We'll read. I've lost it. Google is losing one of its user now. I've lost it. Hey Google, can you say something nice about Virgo people? On the website today.com, they say, even if they're hard on themselves, Virgos are excellent companions. They are loyal friends who truly enjoy giving back to the people in their lives. They are happiest when they are helpful. Further, they're not one to crave the limelight.
There you go. It's all good now. So what's the daddy? They are good people. Hey Google, what do you know about the FBI?
On the website FBI.gov, they say, the FBI is an intelligence-driven and threat-focused national security organization with both intelligence and law enforcement responsibilities. It is the principal investigative arm of the U.S. Department of Justice and a full member of the U.S. intelligence community.
Such nice words. Hey Google, Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Alright, I'm so sorry.
I'm so sorry. We are done taking a break. We will now go back to the read. We will now go back to the reading and we will take the time to heal from Google. I'm so Indeed, I'm very sorry. All right, chapter 6 of part 2 of Sad Cypress. Sorry. I'm trying to get back to center. Poirot looked with interest at the long, sensitive face of Roderick Wellman. Roddy's nerves were in a pitiable condition. His hands twitched, his eyes were bloodshot, his voice was husky and irritable. He said, looking down at the card, "Of course I know your name, Mosey Poirot, but I don't see what Dr. Lord thinks you can do in this matter. And anyway, what business is it of his? He attended my aunt, but otherwise he's a complete stranger. Eleanor and I had not even met him until we went down there this June. Surely it is Seddon's business to attend to all this sort of thing?" Hercule Poirot said, "Technically that is correct." Roddy went on unhappily, "Not that Seddon gives me much confidence. He's so confoundedly gloomy." It is a habit, that, of lawyers. "Still," said Roddy, cheering up a little, "we've briefed Bulmer. He's supposed to be pretty well at the top of the tree, isn't he?" Hercule Poirot said, "He has a reputation for leading forlorn hopes." Roddy winced palpably. Poirot said, "It does not displease you, I hope, that I should endeavour to be of assistance to Miss Eleanor Carlyle?" No, of course not. But what can I do? Is it that you would ask?" A quick smile flashed across Roddy's worried face, a smile so suddenly charming that Hercule Poirot understood the subtle attraction of the man. Roddy said apologetically, "It sounds a little rude, put like that, but really, of course, that is the point. I won't beat about the bush." "What can you do, Mosey Poirot?" Poirot said, "I can search for the truth." "Yes." Roddy sounded a little doubtful. Poirot said, "I might discover facts that would be helpful to the accused." Roddy sighed. "If only you could." Hercule Poirot went on, "It is my earnest desire to be helpful. Will you assist me by telling me just exactly what you think of the whole business?" Roddy got up and walked restlessly up and down. "What can I say? The whole thing's so absurd, so fantastic. The mere idea of Eleanor, whom I've known since she was a child, actually doing such a melodramatic thing as poisoning someone, it's quite laughable, of course. But how on earth explain that to a jury?" Poirot said stolidly, "You consider it quite impossible that Miss Carlyle should have done such a thing?" "Oh, quite. That goes without saying. Eleanor is an exquisite creature, beautifully poised and balanced, no violence in her nature. She's intellectual, sensitive, and altogether devoid of animal passions. But get 12 fat-headed fools in a jury box, and God knows what they can be made to believe. After all, let's be reasonable, they're not there to judge character. They're there to sift evidence. Facts, and facts. And the facts are unfortunate." Hercule Poirot nodded thoughtfully. He said, "You're a person, Mr. Wellman, of sensibility and intelligence. The facts condemn Miss Carlyle. Your knowledge of her acquits her. What then really happened? What can have happened?" Roddy spread out his hands in exasperation. That's the devil of it all. I suppose the nurse couldn't have done it. She was never near the sandwiches. Oh, I have made the inquiries very minutely, and she could not have poisoned the tea without poisoning herself as well. I have made quite sure of that. Moreover, why would she wish to kill Mary Gerard? Roddy cried out. Why should anyone wish to kill Mary Gerard? That, said Poirot, seems to be the unanswerable question in this case. No one, excuse me, no one wished to kill Mary Gerard. He added, in his own mind, except Eleanor Carlyle. Therefore, the next step logically would seem to be, Mary Gerard was not killed, but that, alas, is not so. She was killed. He added slightly melodramatically, but she's in her grave. And oh, the difference to me. I beg your pardon, said Roddy. Hercule Poirot explained, Wordsworth, sorry. It's William Wordsworth, that's what he's saying. I beg your pardon, said Roddy. Hercule Poirot explained, Wordsworth, I read him too much. Those lines express, perhaps, what you feel. I? Roddy looked stiff and unapproachable. Poirot said, I apologize. I apologize deeply. It is so hard to be a detective and also a pakka sahib. As it is so well expressed in your language, there are things that one does not say. But, alas, a detective is forced to say them. He must ask questions about people's private affairs, about their feelings. Roddy said, Surely all this is quite unnecessary. Poirot said quickly and humbly, If I might just understand the position, then we will pass from the unpleasant subject and not refer to it again. It is fairly widely known, Mr. Wellman, that you admired Mary Gerard. That is, I think, true. Roddy got up and stood by the window. He played with the blind tassel. He said, Yes. You fell in love with her? I suppose so. Ah, and you're now heartbroken by her death? I suppose, well, really, Mosey Poirot. He turned, a nervous, irritable, sensitive creature at bay. Hercule Poirot said, If you could just tell me, just show me clearly, then it would be finished with. Roddy Wellman sat down in a chair. He did not look at the other man. He spoke in a series of jerks. It's very difficult to explain. Must we go into it? Poirot said. One cannot always turn aside and pass by from the unpleasantness of life, Mr. Wellman. You say you suppose you cared for the girl. You are not sure, then? 1 second, Fuji. Fuji! Hi, Fuji. All right, they need a snack. 1 second. In fact, I can show you. Actually, I gotta do something. I gotta refill their snack container. So sorry. I need to. Here. Look at these babies. 1 second. Fuji. Oh, Fuji. Oh, Fuji is so sad. There you go. They just needed a snack.
Baji's eating his snacks.
Oh, Suji.
Need some water too.
I'm working on cleaning their auto feeder. That's why it's like this, upside down. So that's why I had to manually give them a snack. Because poor little babies, they got hungry. So yeah. Are you from Ohio? No. Well, I lived there. I wouldn't say I'm from Ohio. I did live in Ohio for a number of years. Okay, back to the reading. We'll finish this chapter. Okay. Yes, they are. They're from Ohio. Indeed, they were born in Ohio. Nifty asks, I got a question for you. Do you know Hocus Pocus? Like magic? Sure. Like, yeah. I don't know what you mean exactly, but yeah. I've heard of the words Hocus Pocus. All right. Okay, so Poirot is basically questioning Roddy, and Roddy is having a difficult time with explaining exactly how he feels about this whole situation. You know, Mary dying, Eleanor poisoning her or not, who knows what happened. This whole situation, he's kind of struggling with it. So Poirot is saying, one cannot always turn aside and pass by from the unpleasantness of life. Mr. Wellness, you say you suppose you cared for this girl. You're not sure then? Roddy said, I don't know. She was so lovely, like a dream. That's what it seems like now. A dream, not real. All that, my seeing her first, my, well, infatuation for her, a kind of madness. And now everything is finished, gone, as though it had never happened. Poirot nodded his head. He said, yes, I understand. He added, you were not in England yourself at the time of her death? No, I went abroad on July 9th and returned on August 1st. Eleanor's telegram followed me about from place to place. I hurried home as soon as I got the news. Poirot said, it must have been a great shock to you. You had cared for the girl very much. Roddy said, and there was bitterness and exasperation in his voice. Why should these things happen to one? It's not as though one wished them to happen. It is contrary to all one's ordered expectation of life. Hercule Poirot said, but life is like that. It does not permit you to arrange and order it as you will. It will not permit you to escape emotion, to live by the intellect and by reason. You cannot say, I will feel so much and no more. Life, Mr. Wellman, whatever else it is not reasonable. Roderick Wellman murmured. So it seems, Poirot said, a spring morning, A girl's face, and the well-ordered sequence of existence is routed. Roddy winced, and Poirot went on. Sometimes it is little more than that. A face. What did you really know of Mary Gerard, Mr. Wellman? Roddy said heavily, What did I know? So little. I see that now. She was sweet, I think, and gentle. But really, I know nothing. Nothing at all. That's why I suppose I don't miss her. Oh, look at Baji. His antagonism and resentment were gone now. He spoke naturally and simply. Hercule Poirot, as he had a knack of doing, had penetrated the other's defenses. Roddy seemed to feel a certain relief in unburdening himself. Oh, look at Fuji taking care of Baji. He said, sweet, gentle, not very clever, sensitive, I think, and kind. She had a refinement that you would not expect to find in a girl of her class. Was she the kind of girl who would make enemies unconsciously? Roddy shook his head vigorously. No, I can't imagine anyone disliking her. Really disliking her, I mean. Spite is different, Poirot said quickly. Spite. So there was spite, you think? Roddy said absently, Must have been, to account for that letter. Poirot said sharply, What letter? Roddy flushed and looked annoyed. He said, Oh, nothing important. Poirot repeated, What letter? An anonymous letter. He spoke reluctantly. When did it come? To whom was it written? Rather unwillingly, Roddy explained. Hercule Poirot murmured, It is interesting that. Can I see it, this letter? Afraid you can't. As a matter of fact, I burned it. Now, why did you do that, Mr. Wellman? Roddy said rather stiffly. It seemed the natural thing to do at the time, Poirot said, and in consequence of this letter, you and Miss Carlyle went hurriedly down to Hunterbury? We went down, yes. I don't know about hurriedly. But you were a little uneasy, were you not? Perhaps even a little alarmed? Hi, Fuji. Roddy said, even more stiffly, I won't admit that. Hercule Poirot cried. But surely that was only natural. Your inheritance, that which was promised you, was in jeopardy. Surely it is natural that you should be unquiet about the matter. Money, it is very important. Not as important as you make out. Poirot said, Such unworldliness is indeed remarkable. Roddy flushed. He said, Oh, of course, the money did matter to us. We weren't completely indifferent to it, but our main object was to see my aunt and make sure she was all right. Poirot said, You went down there with Miss Carlyle. At that time, your aunt had not made a will. Shortly afterwards, she had another attack of her illness. She then wished to make a will, but conveniently for Miss Carlyle, perhaps, she dies that night before that will can be made. Look here, what are you hinting at? Roddy's face was wrathful. Poirot answered him like a flash. You have told me, Mr. Wellman, as regards the death of Mary Gerard, that the motive attributed to Eleanor Carlyle is absurd, that she was emphatically not that kind of person. But there is now another interpretation. Eleanor Carlyle had reason to fear that she might be disinherited in favor of an outsider. The letter has warned her. Her aunt's broken murmurings confirm that fear. In the hall below is an attache case with various drugs and medical supplies. It is easy to abstract a tube of morphine, and afterwards, so I've learned, she sits in the sick room alone with her aunt while you and the nurses are at dinner. Roddy cried. Good God, Monsieur Poirot, what are you suggesting now? That Eleanor killed Aunt Laura? Of all the ridiculous ideas, Poirot said. But you know, do you not, that an order to exhume Mrs. Wellman's body has been applied for? Yes, I know, but they won't find anything. Suppose they do? They won't. Roddy spoke positively. Poirot shook his head. I am not so sure. And there was only one person, you realize, who would benefit by Mrs. Wellman's dying at that moment. Oh, Baji. Hi, Animus Author. Hi, BBB Read VR. Nifty, no, I don't know the movie. So Poirot shook his head. I'm not so sure. And there was only one person, you realize, who would benefit by Mrs. Wellman's dying at that moment. Roddy sat down. His face was white, and he was shaking a little. He stared at Poirot. Then he said, I thought you were on her side. Hercule Poirot said, whatever side one is on, one must face facts. Whatever side one is on, one must face facts. I think, Mr. Wellman, that you have so far preferred in life to avoid facing an awkward truth whenever it is possible. Roddy said, why harrow oneself by looking on the worst side? Hercule Poirot replied gravely, because it is something necessary. He paused a minute and then said, let us face the possibility that your aunt's death may be found to be due to the administration of morphine. What then? Roddy shook his head helplessly. I don't know. But you must try to think. Who could have given it to her? You must admit that Eleanor Carlyle had the best opportunity to do so. What about the nurses? Nifty's saying, okay, bye. Have a great reading. Bye. Thank you for joining. I'm just going to finish up this chapter. Thank you for joining. Roddy shook his head helplessly. I don't know. But you must try to think. Who could have given it to her? You must admit that Eleanor Carlyle had the best opportunity to do so. What about the nurses? Either of them could have done so, certainly, but Nurse Hopkins was concerned about the disappearance of the tube at the time and mentioned it openly. There was no need for her to do so. The death certificate had been signed. Why call attention to the missing morphine if she were guilty? It will probably bring her censure for carelessness, as it is. Come, Baji, you want to sit on Mama's lap? Nope. Besides, what could she gain by Mrs. Wellman's death? Nothing. The same applies to Nurse O'Brien. She could have administered morphine, could have taken it from Nurse Hopkins's case. But again, why should she? Roddy shook his head. All that's true enough, Poirot said. Then there is yourself. Roddy started like a nervous horse. Me? Certainly. You could have abstracted the morphine. You could have given it to Mrs. Wellman. You were alone with her for a short period that night. But again, why should you? If she lived to make a will, it is at least probable that you would have been mentioned in it. So again, you see, there is no motive. Only two people had a motive. Roddy's eyes brightened. Two people? Yes. One was Eleanor Carlyle, and the other? Poirot said slowly. The other was the writer of that anonymous letter. Roddy looked incredulous. Poirot said, somebody wrote that letter. Somebody who hated Mary Gerard, or at least disliked her. Somebody who was, as they say, on your side. Somebody, that is, who did not want Mary Gerard to benefit at Mrs. Wellman's death. Now, have you any idea, Mr. Wellman, who the writer of that letter could be? Roddy shook his head. I have no idea at all. It was an illiterate letter, misspelled, cheap-looking. Poirot waved a hand. There is nothing much to that. It might easily have been written by an educated person who chose to disguise the fact. That is why I wish you had the letter still. People who try to write in an uneducated manner usually give themselves away. Look at Sochi. Hi, Lily. Hi, Lily. Not sick anymore. Very nice. Yay. Roddy said thoughtfully, Eleanor and I thought it might be one of the servants. Had you any idea which of them? No, no idea whatsoever. Could it, do you think, have been Mrs. Bishop? Bishop, the housekeeper? Roddy looked shocked. Oh no, she's a most respectable, high and mighty creature, writes beautifully involved and ornate letters with long words in them. Besides, I'm sure she would never. As he hesitated, Poirot cut in. She did not like Mary Gerard. I suppose she didn't. I never noticed anything, though. Hi, Fuji. Oh, Fuji, what do you want? What do you need, baby? Oh. Let me finish reading this chapter. I'm very close to being done. I suppose she didn't. I never noticed anything, though. But perhaps, Mr. Wellman, you do not notice very much? Roddy said slowly, You don't think, Monsieur Poirot, that my aunt could have taken that morphine herself? Poirot said slowly, It is an idea, yes. Roddy said, She hated her helplessness, you know. Often said she wished she could die. Poirot said, But then she could not have risen from her bed, gone downstairs, and helped herself to the tube of morphine from the nurse's case. Roddy said slowly, No, but somebody could have got it for her. Who? Well, one of the nurses. No, neither of the nurses. They would understand the danger to themselves far too well. The nurses are the last people to suspect. Then somebody else. He started, opened his mouth, shut it again. Poirot said quietly, You have remembered something, have you not? Roddy said doubtfully, Yes, but... You wonder if you ought to tell me? Well, yes. Poirot said, a curious smile, tilting the corners of his mouth. When did Miss Carlyle say it? Roddy drew a deep breath. By Jove, you are a wizard. It was in the train coming down. We'd had the telegram, you know, saying Aunt Laura had had another stroke. Eleanor said how terribly sorry she was for her, how the poor dear hated being ill, and that now she would be more helpless still, and that it would be absolute hell for her. Eleanor said one does feel that people ought to be set free if they themselves really want it. And you said, what? I agreed, Poirot said gravely. Just now, Mr. Wellman, you scouted the possibility of Miss Carlyle having killed your aunt for monetary gain. Do you also scout the possibility that she may have killed Mrs. Wellman out of compassion? Roddy said, I know, I can't. Hercule Poirot bowed his head. He said, Yes, I thought I was sure that you would say that. Roddy just doesn't want to take a stand on anything. All right, we finished chapter 6 of part 2 of Sad Cypress by Agatha Christie. We'll pick it up from chapter 7 next time. Here's Suji. I gotta take the garbage out. That's garbage. Nifty said bye. Bye, Nifty. Lily. Hi, Lily. How are you doing now? Lily said she's not sick anymore. Very good. Good to hear that, Lily. She had the flu. I have to go. Class for me starting. Bye. Oh, God. Lily, you're back to class. Very nice. Bye. See you next time. Sukuna, the bird flu. We don't know what kind of flu. but she was sick. Look, Suji and Baji are play fighting. They're having a bit of a moment. So I finished reading from chapters 2 through 6 of part 2 of Sad Cypress by Agatha Christie. So we will pick up from the next chapter, chapter 7, next time. Oh, Baji's following his sister. They had a little tiff just now. They had a little tiff just now. Aw. Is that a Samsung fridge? I don't think it's Samsung, but I'm not sure. I didn't buy it. It came with the house. The fridge was already there. It is Frigidaire. A different brand. Does it matter? Does it matter? All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Thank you for listening to my reading of the book. Thank you for joining and chatting and hanging out with the kitty cats. And we will pick up from this chapter 7 next time. And thank you for enjoying my voiceover reading as well as chatting. We made good progress. Here's all the other books she's written. Well, not all of them. Some of them. I've read all of them. I'm rereading her books at this time. Sad Cypress. We're on chapter 7, part 2. This book has a few parts, and we're on part 2 right now, but we've made a lot of progress. Look, we read all of this, and some of these are, all of these that I've read are in the previous live streams, including this live stream. So just go ahead and go and check out those other videos that are uploaded under the live tab if you want to catch up on the book. I've read it in the lives. Oh my God. There's a fight breaking out here between Suji and Baji, but Baji has decided to walk away from it. Suji is in a playful mood and she wanted to give Baji some challenge. Hi, Suji. I think I have to play. I'm going to play with them. My battery's about to die, or my phone is about to die. So, not about to die. I mean, there's still 6% left. So, or I would show you this game. It is just play. Yeah. She's just playing. She's in a playful mood right now. Like they got their snacks, right? So they got active. Once they eat, they're active and it's time for play. Whereas you saw them in a very chilling, peaceful mood earlier because after they've been fed and they've, taking a nap, that's when I do the reading because they're more calm when they're taking a nap. Thank you. Chapter 7 next time. See you next weekend. Sad Cypress. Happy week to all listeners and readers. Ooh, look at Suji. She's being very playful. She's being very playful. Such a good girl. Such a goody girl. Sachi mama. Wow, Sachi. Wow, Sachi. What a big jump. Big jump. Royal Bengal tiger jump. Good job, Sachi. Good job. Oh, Swachi. What did it do? Attack. It may be just play. It is, just like big cats. Yup. Heike, thank you for being here. Chapter 7 next time. Yep, we'll do chapter 7 next time. Attack! Sachi, attack! Sachi! Attack! Oh, Sachi! Look at this. Look at this cute face. Excuse me, shall we play? Excuse me? Excuse me? Oh my gosh, she's so cute. A very playful mood has taken over here. She is in full form. How long you live in India? 18 years. I was born there and I lived there for 18 years. High school. Till high school. Till schooling. Shachi! Sachi! That's my nickname for Suji. Suji Mama! Oh, Suji Mama. Suji Mama. Science, yeah, I took science in high school as well. Oh, Suji, you're so cute. You're a cute bacha. You're a cute bacha. I just want to snuggle. Medical. No, not medical. Physics. I did physics and chemistry. Physics and chemistry. And math. Oh! Puchku. You're a puchku. তুমি পুচকু তুমি ছোট মেয়ে তুমি ছোট মেয়ে তুমি ছোট মেয়ে Physicist, yes, indeed. Yes, I have a review on. So, by the way, FBI, you were asking about my books. Well, I have a review on gamma ray bursts on Amazon. If you'd like to read one of my books, I can. Let's see. If you go to Amazon.com and search gamma ray burst, I think you should be able to find it. It's a short review. It's not a very long book. You can read it to your pleasure if you'd like, but also no pressure. Don't have to read it if you don't want to. Hi, Sachi. Hi, Sachi. Baby to. It's a choto baby to. Baby to. Baby. Baby. I would love to. Okay. Sure. Yeah, gamma ray bursts was one of my focuses during my PhD. I did particle astrophysics for my grad school PhD, and I wrote oops. So what do you do for a living? Well, it's a long story. I do many things. This is one thing. YouTube. I've been in research for many years. You know? Research analysis, physics, background. Find myself in all that. Sachi! Iftikhar Khan. Hi, Iftikhar. You participated in Olympiads. Yeah, I did some Olympiads. That was a while ago. Yeah, in high school too, I liked physics a lot. I have loved physics since I was like 11. But even before then, I wanted to be a writer. So, yeah. But yeah, so the gamma ray burst review might be a lot of detail. Might be too much detail for high school. No, I went to college in the US. So I wasn't in India for higher education. I did college and grad school and all that in the US. Swatchy! You're in high school. Well, high school is a good time. What's your favorite subject? Mine was physics, chemistry, English, literature. You know, in high school, I probably spent more time writing poetry and things like that. Oh my God. Well, I studied a lot too for science, all the science subjects, but I really always liked literature, art, poetry as well. Might even have been my poetry, Urdu. Well, Urdu poetry is beautiful. You should tell us some more about Urdu poetry next time. You should share about that at the live next time. I think it's very beautiful. Math I like. I also like poetry. Lucky you. Well, thank you. Yes. I hope so. Thank you, God. May the luck continue. तेरी आँखों में डूबने को जी चाहता है. Okay. And keep going. Touch wood. Tori. Hi, Tori. How are you? My phone's about to die. But thank you so much for joining. Thank you, everybody. I'm on 1% battery right now. If you want to continue the chat, go ahead. And I can type messages still, but I think the phone will die soon here. That's a one-liner. Okay. तेरी आँखों में डूबने को जी चाहता है. It's a nice line. And if you want to catch up on our other videos, shorts, and live streams, go ahead. They're all posted on the channel. Looking forward to your comments and chat messages on our content on the channel and when we go live. Looking forward to seeing you again at our next live. Thank you so much again for joining and listening to the book reading, the voiceover, as well as seeing the kitty cats and having a good time and chatting and being engaged. Tori says 90. Cute Cat says hi. Hi. So gamma ray in universe. Yeah, gamma ray bursts. Gamma ray bursts are a potential source of particles from astrophysical phenomena, very high energy particles. So I did a study of, how they may or may not be producing high energy neutrinos. So my PhD was focused on ultra high energy neutrinos and how they are made, in what processes are they made. If you go